I'm here with Gary Valentine, and most of you watching this will know Gary Valentine. He has been in many TV shows, movies, and really gets around the country doing comedy to the masses. And I really appreciate you taking the time. I love your facial hair there. I don't recognize you there. I think the last time I saw you, we were out getting lunch in Connecticut, and
Yeah,
I like this look though. I think I may stop shaving. I like it. It looks good.
thanks. I've been called Father Time. It's a little grayer than I want, but hey, look, it's, with these times, I'll take it. I don't care.
Right. But everybody's good with you, I hope. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as I was saying, you are involved in a lot of stand-up comedy in front of a live audience. And for someone like you, it's one thing being stuck here for a month or two, but what happens when you get back into the real world? Have you spoken to any of your colleagues and people you work with, how you're going to deal with this kind of thing?
Yeah, well, it's funny. The live stand-up shows that I'm doing. A lot of them are in some theaters. Some smaller theaters, and what they're going to do, from what I've been told, is they're going to sell every two seats in the beginning and have two seats empty, two seats empty, and then in the back, in the behind row, will be like staggered. Two seats will be empty behind us, and then two seats to the side of anybody goes. So I guess if a husband and wife want to go with their friends, they're going to sit a couple seats apart, which is not a big issue. Trust me.
And some of
Um,
the spouses probably would look forward to that, not being next to someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have more
So,
room. But I really,
a lot of the shows have been postponed. Obviously, we had shows in April and May, which are now in the fall. Hopefully, God willing, we get to them then. But yeah, that's the worst of the live thing. I'm also working on doing a podcast with a buddy of mine to get our comedy out there and to kind of make people feel good, in these terrible times.
absolutely. There's only so much you could watch the news every day and hear the same thing over and again, and how many reruns you could see. So seeing a sort of quote unquote live podcast of fresh material is where people are going to be going. And at least in the beginning, people are not going to rush out in droves to restaurants or theater and things like that. And I imagine financially for the person who owns the theater, if it's every other seat, that's going to be 50% of the revenue. It's going to be financially a tough. People are not going to want to spend the money if they're not working. So it's a cycle that's going to take a while before I think your industry is back on its feet.
Exactly. And I think, a lot of the chain comedy clubs like the Improv and you know, there's a lot of chains that'll survive this whole thing, but there's a lot of mom and pop little comedy clubs that are basically, a bar with a stage in it. Um, they live week to week, and this is going to be a struggle. I know the government's sending out the small business checks and everything else, which will help, and hopefully they'll be able to survive and make it. But a lot of these clubs, they're like restaurants. They literally live week to week. So it's very difficult. And through the years working these clubs and theaters, you get to know the people that work there, and you feel for them. Just as the local restaurants, in your town, you get to know the staff, and eh, my heart goes out to them. I mean, we're all hurting. Our income's been hurt by from all of us, but um, it's one of these things where I know we'll come back. The world as we know it's going to be a little different. The social distancing thing. Rich, I washed my hands 45 times a day before this.
Right.
Now I'm washing it 95 times a day.
I
I
see.
mean, I was like a germ phobe. So, you know,
Now,
my hands are raw. My wife keeps telling me put lotion, put lotion. I'm just, but I'll go through it. We don't care.
now you know what it's like to be a surgeon. I mean,
Exactly.
it's crazy. Now you have some family, I think, out on the West Coast. I remember up by the Stanford area, don't you? Up north.
I do. Yes.
And how
My
are they?
wife's side.
Right,
Yes.
yeah. So I mean, she's been in contact with her family out there. Are things very different there? Do you hear or?
Yeah. It's funny. I watch a lot of Fox News, and I see, and by the way, you're my favorite surgeon. I love Fauci, but you're still my guy, Rich. Um, yeah, in California, the numbers, it's crazy. 40 million people, and they have, I'm not hoping for more. Every death is a terrible thing, but crazy that there's only, a handful of deaths, in relation to the 40 million. I don't know how it's happening. I'm glad, but it's crazy as opposed to New York. I know we're in a more condensed area here in the city and everything else, but yeah, everyone's fine out there.
Good.
So we're all hunkered down.
Now, when you started in the business, how old were you when you started?
I was 26.
26.
Yeah,
And did you always know
and
you
now I'm 30. Now I'm 34.
34? Wow, time flies, huh? And
Yeah,
now,
don't let the beard fool you.
yeah, did you always know you wanted to be in this type of business, or it's just something that came about?
I think I internally I always felt I wanted to. I was always a kind of a goofball and acting out things and everything else. But my mother actually, who you saved her life, um, she actually signed me up for an open mic night when I was living at home, came back from college, and I was working with my dad in his insurance business. And one night she signs me up for an open mic night at the comedy club in Huntington, Long Island. And I go, "What do you want me to do?" She goes, "Well, you do 5 minutes of your act." I don't have an act. She goes, "Oh, just do what you do, just that kind of thing." So mom's intuition, I guess she knew I had something in me that I could do this, and I was like hooked from the beginning.
She started it all. Well, we all have
Yeah,
our moms to thank, and I hope she's doing well. But
yeah,
Gary,
she is.
I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. You're a great guy, and we definitely got to get out again. And I can't wait. I'm going to try to grow that beard also. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rich. I really appreciate you and St. Francis and all over the country. Amazing.
Thank you.